There are only 2 points to be kept in mind to solve paragraph summary questions. In fact, of the verbal ability questions that are coming in the CAT in the recent days, this is one of the most dependable type of questions, paragraph summary ones. Okay, so what are the 2 things that one should keep in mind to solve paragraph summary questions with good accuracy? One is consistency. Okay, now what do I mean by consistency here? When you look at an option, you got to see whether the option is speaking something that is consistent with what is given in the main paragraph. Okay, we are looking for a summary, but first of all, it should be consistent with what is given. The option should not be saying something different from what is given in the main paragraph. Although it might not look very blatant, but if you see carefully, you'll be able to see that there could be something different. For instance, your paragraph could say, the main paragraph could say, most of the countries protested a particular suggestion. And your option could say, all of the countries protested. So when you read quickly, you might not notice that there is a difference that is being made in the option, but you got to catch these kind of differences. The first thing is to find out for consistency. You'll have to see which of the options are first of all consistent with the main paragraph. Now, the next thing is, provided you have more than one option that is consistent with the main paragraph, then you have to look for the one which covers maximum main points. So if I have more than one option that is consistent with the main paragraph, I'll have to look for the maximum main points. And which option is covering maximum number of main points that are there in the main paragraph? When I say main points, I'm stressing on main points because examples don't count. Okay, you got to look for main points and which option is covering maximum number of them. That could be a better summary. Okay, so these are 2 thumb rules you can keep, but let's try and apply them in today's session. You will know how to deal with paragraph summary questions with these 2 points in mind. Okay, let's look at this. See, first thought that could come to your mind is, God, this is so long, how do I deal with this? Right? That's okay. Don't worry. In case you did not get enough time in the quiz, don't worry. I think from the second question, it should fall in place. Don't worry about the timing. Let's try to solve this question here. So let's look at this. In 2006, Daniel Oppenheimer, then a professor of psychology and public affairs at Princeton University, published research arguing that the use of clear, simple words over needlessly complex ones can actually make authors appear more intelligent. The research garnered him the IG Nobel Prize in Literature, a parody of the Nobel Prize that, according to a Slate article by the award's creator, Marx Abrahams, and several academics, is always given to improbable research and sometimes serves as a de facto criticism or satire in the academic world. Oppenheimer, for his part, believes he got the award because of the paper's title, Consequences of Erudite Vernacular Utilized Irrespective of Necessity, Problems with Using Long Words Needlessly. The title made readers laugh and then think. Ultimately, Oppenheimer says that attention the IG Nobel brought to his research means it's now being used to improve the work of students in academic writing centers around the country. Okay, so this is the paragraph. Now let's look at the options that are there. And first of all, we're going to look for options which are consistent. So the option is going to speak something different from what is given in the paragraph. We'll get rid of it there itself. Okay, so let's see. The first one, the LG Nobel Prize in Literature, which is awarded to research serving as sarcasm. Awarded to research serving as sarcasm to the complex writing in the academic world. Okay, here itself I have a problem, because if you look at the part here, let's see. The research garnered him the IG Nobel Prize in Literature, a parody of the Nobel Prize, according to a Slate article by the award's creator and several academics, is always given to improbable research and sometimes serves as the de facto criticism or satire in the academic world. So what serves as a satire is the award that serves as a satire. Here, if you see, it is awarded to research serving as a sarcasm to the complex writing. There itself, I have some reservations in this question. Okay, research, so in this option, research serving as sarcasm. Let's read further. Whose research showed that the use of lucid language can make authors appear more intelligent. His papers titled both amused the readers and helped improve the work of the students in academic writing. Okay, now let's see this part. The second part. The second part says his papers titled both amuse the readers and helped improve the work of students in academic writing. But if you come and see towards the end of this paragraph, it says, ultimately, Oppenheimer says the attention the LG Nobel brought to his research meant it's now being used to improve the work of students in. So what the passage says is that this person says the attention that the Nobel brought to his research means it's now being used to improve the work of students. So it is what he says. But if you look at what the first option is, the option says his paper title both amused the readers and helped. Now, this is not given in the paragraph that his paper helped. What is given in the paragraph is he says that it could have helped. Okay, so there you can see a difference here. How many of you are able to identify that difference? Those who are in the live session, respond with C if you're able to identify the difference that I'm trying to show here. Here, Oppenheimer says is given, but in the option, if you see, it is not given as Oppenheimer says. It is given that it helped improve the work of students in academic writing, which is different from Oppenheimer says that it improved than telling that it improved. So if you're there in the live session, please give me a response with C if you're able to identify the difference. Type R if you want me to show once again what is the difference here. So because of that, I will get rid of the first option here. That cannot be the answer. It should be Oppenheimer says that it helped. Okay, next one. According to Daniel Oppenheimer, the use of lucid language can make authors appear more intelligent. Till there it is okay. The IG Nobel Prize in Literature, which is sometimes awarded as satire. Is that how it is given? Yes, is always given to improbable research and sometimes serves as a de facto criticism or satire in the academic world. Okay. This sometimes serves as satire in the academic world was given to him. He thinks he got the award because of his paper's title, which both amused the readers and made them think, and also believes, well, look at this, also believes, so it tells us his opinion. This option speaks out as his opinion. Also believes that the prize helps his research in gaining some attention in the academic writing circles. This looks fine to me. This looks consistent. Let's look at the next one. Daniel Oppenheimer was awarded the LG Nobel Prize mainly because of his paper's title. I would get rid of this now itself. I would get rid of this now itself and not even read further, because it is given he was awarded IG Nobel Prize in Literature mainly because of his paper's title. But that's not what is given. See, that is the opinion of this person. If you see here, Oppenheimer for his part believes he got the award because of the paper's title. Okay, so Oppenheimer believes he got the award because of paper's title. I cannot say Oppenheimer was awarded the Nobel Prize because of the paper's title. I am just changing the opinion from Oppenheimer's opinion to the author's opinion, the author of this whole paragraph, which is wrong. So I can get rid of that. Next one. Daniel Oppenheimer's research arguing that the use of clear, simple words over needlessly complex one can actually make authors appear more intelligent won him the IG Nobel Prize in Literature, which is awarded to research serving as satire in the academic world. It helped improve. Out. I cannot say it helped improve because Oppenheimer says it helped improve. You cannot say it helped improve the work of students in academic. There also, the same problem that we saw in the first option is there. So if I just check for consistency, 3 of the options are out. There's only one option that is staying back with respect to consistency. So that is the answer for this question. So answer for this question is option 2. Those who are there in the live session, please type 2 if you're clear with how we got the answer for this question as option 2. Let's try the next question. So this is the next question, the second question that we are trying today. So let's see how we can solve this one. At this critical juncture, what India needs is a two-pronged strategy to successfully navigate the current crisis and recover strongly thereafter. First, minimizing the damage caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and clear a path to recovery. And second, rebooting and reimaging India by promptly exploiting new opportunities unleashed by evolving business scenarios. The strategy should address 4 major economic cylinders. Okay, in my mind, I'll have to create those 4 columns to receive the 4 major economic cylinders. Let's see what they are. Firstly, big business houses, which are a major contributor to GDP and large employment generators, should be supported by the government to reopen their operations by way of tax incentives or ease of procurement of raw materials or other goods. Okay, first is big businesses for various reasons. Okay, raw materials or other goods will remain energize consumer demand and boost the functioning of vendor or ancillary industry. So first point is big businesses. I'll come back to the details later if I have to. Secondly, the MSMEs, which are the lifeline of the country, generating wealth for the middle class, must be provided the requisite loans. Thirdly, startups bring innovation and transformation to our country's economy, and the government needs to provide significant support to startup ecosystem. And finally, our Indian brothers and sisters living abroad not only serve as unofficial ambassadors of India, but their hearts beat for India, and they, through their contacts, can bring huge investments into India. Their investments in India should be treated on par with those of resident Indians as regards interest and dividend repatriation and management control of Indian companies. Okay, so although it looks big, there are two primary points here. Two aspects have to be dealt with after the COVID pandemic. One is the damage caused by this has to be taken into account. And for evolving business scenarios, they are looking at four aspects here. One is big businesses, MSMEs, startups, and then NRIs. Okay, this is the main structure of this. Let's look at the options and see which option will stay back as consistent first of all. Okay. In this dire situation, what India needs is a two-pronged strategy addressing four major economic cylinders of tax incentives, easy and low interest loans, safe ecosystems, and fair and profitable environments to all. Whoa, look at this. What is this? All forms of business. These things to all forms of business. There itself, I can get rid of this option. Okay, now each of this was mentioned to different forms of business. You cannot say all of this to all forms of business. So option 1 is out immediately. Let's look at the next one. In this perilous situation, what India needs is a two-pronged strategy of controlling the damage caused by COVID pandemic and clearing the path to economic recovery by supporting all, once again, all forms of business. You can get rid of that. Okay. Now, from startups to small to medium to big with tax incentives and requisites and loans. So what is happening here is it's just telling all forms of business from this to that. I mean, that's not actually capturing what is given there. What is given here is clearly a four-cylinder approach. Now, when you say all forms of business and then you say startups to this to that, it is not capturing what is given in the main paragraph. That's why I'm getting rid of that one. Okay, next. India is in an economically dangerous situation after the COVID pandemic, and the government must employ a two-pronged strategy to resuscitate it. Apart from minimizing the effects of the pandemic, its economic measures must help the big businesses to energize consumer demand, boost the functioning of the MSME sector, generate wealth for middle class, and improve this one. Generate wealth for middle class by itself is not an agenda. Okay, generating wealth for middle class by itself is not an agenda. If you see here, it is given. Secondly, the MSMEs, which are lifeline of the country, generating wealth for middle class. They are telling MSMEs are generating wealth for middle class. Must be provided. So basically, they are trying to tell MSMEs must be provided the requisite loan. The paragraph is not telling that government should concentrate on generating wealth for middle class. That's completely different from what is given in the paragraph. So if you see here, it says economic measures must help the big businesses to energize consumer demand, boost the functioning of MSME sector, generate wealth for middle class. It means you're telling generating wealth for middle class is the primary objective for the government. No. So you can get rid of that as well. So already we are getting our answer. Let's look at the last one now. India's current strategy must be to mitigate the damage caused by the COVID pandemic and revive the economy by providing tax incentives and requisite credits to big businesses, necessary loans to MSMEs, significant support to the startup ecosystem, and a fair investment environment to the non-resident Indians on par with their resident Indians. Perfect. There is nothing wrong with this. That is the only consistent option, and that is also the best summary that is available here. If you are there in the live session, please give me a response. Type 4 so that I'll know all of you understood how we solved this question, guys. With or without a religious purpose and with a wealth of different techniques, meditation has been performed for several thousand years and appears in all the major religions. Today, a rough division can be made between Western and Asiatic meditation traditions. While the Western form of meditation has traditionally been based on content, technical forms of meditation are far more widespread in Asia. A typical example of the former is the recitation of prayers and scriptures. It can also be the visualization of specific episodes or incidents, like a story from a sacred scripture, such as the death of Christ or one's own death. Such meditation practices have been used in Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. There are similar forms of meditation in the Asiatic tradition, but these often emphasize the technical tradition as well. The technical tradition can be based on either recitation or visualization, but typically this form of meditation tends to involve reciting sounds without content or visualizing things like geometrical figures. It can also be more physical and focus on breathing techniques and movements, as in yoga, or can also involve specific ways of focusing one's attention, such as including and accepting all impressions. Okay, they have told about two forms of meditation, which you can divide them into two forms of meditation, and how they are slightly different from each other is given. Let's look at the options one by one and see which option will go off in the first round when we check for consistency itself. So from primeval times would mean too far back. From the earliest times, that is what is primeval. So that doesn't actually capture what is given here, because what is given here is for several thousand years. When you say from primeval times, it's like millions of years back. So there itself, I see that there is a problem. From primeval times, a wealth of different techniques and purposes are used for meditation. But if one compares Western and Asiatic meditation traditions, the former is conceptual while the latter is more technical. If one compares the Western and meditation traditions, the former, that looks like okay, but I still have a problem with primal times. I'll see if I can find out something which is better than that. Meditation existed from years ago in different forms. Years ago, when you say, you can still say, not telling how many years ago. So that still passes. In different forms and Wait, I think there's a problem here. Meditation existed from years ago in different forms and segregated between Western and Asian meditation traditions. The former is content-based while the latter is additionally technical in addition to its physical and contemplative. See, segregated between doesn't exactly capture what is given in the passage. Because if you look at the paragraph, it says, today a rough division can be made. It was not always segregated as Western and Asiatic. Okay. It is given a rough division can be made between Western and Asiatic meditation traditions. So it was not always segregated by itself as Western and Asiatic. So I would have a small problem there. Let's see if there is something which is not having that kind of a problem. Meditation, which exists since ancient times, several thousand years, I think that can pass. Primeval is like too long back, even before humans have come. So when you say ancient times, that is still okay. It's like initial times when people started doing all these things related to civilization. Can be divided into Western. See, look at the language here, guys. Can be divided. And that's exactly what the passage also says. Today, a rough division can be made between Western and Asiatic meditation traditions. So can be divided into Western, which is traditionally content-based, involving incantations and visualizations, and Asiatic, involving more technical forms of meditation. The latter can be more physical or contemplative. I think this seems okay. Let's look at the next one. Meditation in different shapes has existed since the dawn of civilization. But now we have the means to segregate those shapes into Western, which is postulatory, and Asian, which is more application based. What do you mean by application based? It's not exactly application based. We are trying to tell it is more technical. It is something to do with the body and so on. So application based doesn't exactly capture what we are trying to do here. So you can get rid of this also. Now, among these three, let us see which one would be the best. Okay, there is a question here. What do they mean by different forms? Do they mean Western and Asiatic in option 2? That's what you can mean here, right? Meditation existed from years ago in different forms. In this context, that's what it could mean, right? Western and Asiatic. And segregated between Western and Asiatic. Again, these different forms, in this case, it's actually vague. It's not very clear what are they meaning by different forms. So it could be some other forms also, and they are given and segregated between Western and Asiatic. So it looks like the different forms doesn't mean Western and Asiatic, because they are again speaking about Western and Asiatic. So the different forms could be something to do with this, with or without religious purpose, and with a wealth of different techniques. So maybe that is what they're trying to mean here as different forms. Okay. Now, okay, someone is asking, what is dawn of civilization? Dawn of civilization would mean from the dawn is basically when the sun rises. Right? When you say dawn of civilization, it means from the very initial stages of civilization. I don't think that exactly captures several thousand years. So this is a problem, and the bigger problem is application based. So we have got rid of option 4 anyway. Now let's look at 1, 2, and 3. So primal times is too old. Okay, you cannot say 1,000 years is primal time. Primal times means deep into history. So I can get rid of that. Primal times doesn't do justice for several thousand years. And here it is given different forms and segregated between. What the passage says is you can segregate them. It is not that they have always remained segregated. So between 2 and 3, if I have to go to, I would go with 3 because it follows the same tone that is used in the passage with respect to the segregation. That's not happening in 2. Okay. So the better of 2 and 3 is 3 for this question. So 3 is the answer for this. So if you're there in the live session, please give me a response with 3 so that I'll understand why, so that I'll understand that you have understood why we are going to option 3 for this question. Let's see how we can approach this question. Not much is known about the early days of the Gupta dynasty, but for the travel diaries and writings of Buddhist monks who frequented this part of the world. They are the most trustworthy sources of information we have about those days. The travelogues of Pahin, okay, I'm not very sure how these are to be pronounced, proved to be invaluable in this respect. The Gupta Empire started during the rule of Sri Gupta and comprised only Magadha and probably a part of Bengal. But Samudragupta sought to unite all of India under his rule and quickly set out to achieve this goal by waging wars across much of the Indian subcontinent. Hoping for mercy, many potential victims offered tribute and presents to Samudragupta as he swept through the territories. But little mercy was granted. One by one, he defeated 9 kings in the north and 12 in the south. In addition to the human devastation, countless horses were slaughtered to celebrate his victories. The Gupta territories expanded so greatly under Samudragupta's reign that he has often been compared to great conquerors such as Alexander the Great and Napoleon. But of course, he did not achieve military success single-handedly. Local squads, with each consisted of 1 elephant, 1 chariot, 3 armed cavalrymen, and 5 foot soldiers, protected Gupta villages from raids and revolts. In times of war, the squads joined together to form a powerful royal army. Okay, now let's look at the options. Let's see which all options will go off in terms of consistency itself, because that's our first target, right? From the travel diaries and writings of Buddhist monks, we come to know that the Gupta Empire started humbly under Sri Gupta and flourished under Samudragupta, who was cruel both to humans and animals, but was a great strategist in the league of great conquerors such as Alexander the Great and Napoleon. Okay, let me look at the first part to see if there is something I can pick up. So not much is known about the early days, but for the travel diaries, okay, from the travel diaries of writings of Buddhist monks, we come to know that the Gupta Empire started humbly under Sri Gupta and flourished under Samudragupta. I think it looks fine. Let me keep it aside in case I want to compare this with something else. I will come back to it. Very little is known about the Gupta Empire, save for the travel diaries and writings of Buddhist monks, such as these people who frequented the empire. Samudragupta united, look at this, guys. Samudragupta united all of India is given. But if you go back to the passage and see, what is given is Samudragupta sought to unite all of India is given. So Samudragupta sought to unite all of India. But what is given here is Samudragupta united all of India under his rule. So you can get rid of that there itself. Option 2 is out. Next. Precious little is known about the Gupta dynasty except for the travelogues of Buddhist monks such as these guys who frequented the empire. It started locally under Sri Gupta and expanded vastly under Samudragupta, who was likened to Alexander the Great and Napoleon, but he was cruel not only to animals but also to, not only to humans but also to animals. Looks like it is okay. Let's look at the next one. The works of the Buddhist monks who visited the Gupta Empire are the most reliable sources of information about its kings. trustworthy sources of information, reliable sources of information about its kings. Sri Gupta started with a smaller territory, but Samudragupta expanded it vastly by mercilessly conquering kingdoms and with a strategy of employing small units. If you look at this point, guys, this strategy of employing small units of armies with which he could form a cohesive force when required, I don't see that being mentioned in the first one or the third one. Okay, because that is an important strategy that he used, right? He had local squads. Okay, someone's asking a doubt here. League of Great Conquerors in first option. In the League of Great Conquerors such as Alexander the Great and Napoleon, we did have that here, right? Let's read that once again. So it is given Samudragupta's reign that has been often compared to great conquerors such as Alexander the Great and Napoleon, right? Expanded so greatly under Samudragupta's reign that he has often been compared to great conquerors such as Alexander the Great and Napoleon. So it is given, but great strategies in the League of Great Conquerors, such as compared to in the League of, they kind of go well. It is okay. You can permit that kind of a transfer from here to here. There's one more question here. So can we reject option 2 based on the fact that we do not know that Fahin, etc. are Buddhist monks or not? No, it is given here. No, not much is known about the early days of Gupta Dynasty, but for the travel diaries and writings of Buddhist monks who frequented this part, they are most trustworthy sources of information. The travelogues of this. So that implies that these are the Buddhist monks. Okay, because we did see earlier itself the writings of these guys are the most trustworthy information. And then later when you say these guys, whatever travelogues they gave is invaluable, it kind of implies that they are the Buddhist monks. So that way you can leave that aside. Now, if you are going to compare 1, 3 and 4, if you're going to compare these three, then you will see that one main point, that is about the local squads. None of these two speak about the local squads. It's only being spoken here. Okay. And what instead these two are doing is they are just doing this comparison between Alexander the Great, Napoleon and so on. Okay. But this is a primary strategy he used for capturing places. Okay. So if you are going to compare that, I would say this is covering maximum main points, because see, he already covered maximum places in India, and then he was compared to these two people, right? So that way I would say this is a better option. Any other okay, someone's telling, how do we infer he is cruel to animals? Someone's asking, how do we infer he is cruel to animals? See, it's given here, right? In addition to human devastation, countless horses were slaughtered to celebrate his victories. Definitely he is merciless towards animals. Horses being slaughtered is given. Is that clear? Okay. This is the line of questioning. So someone's asking, can we say that cruel to animals cannot be justified because he was cruel to horses? Okay. The problem here is, when you say cruel to animals, it's not wrong because horse is also an animal here. If they are given cruel to all animals, then there is a problem. If they are given cruel to all animals, then there is a problem. Okay. So cruel to animals is not wrong. You cannot say it's wrong because horse is also an animal. If they are given cruel to all animals, then you definitely have a problem. Okay. So in this case, cruel to animals will pass. Okay. So the best option I could see here, which summarizes maximum main points, is option 4. Type 4 if you're clear with why we are going with option 4 for this question. Those of you who are there in the live session. A distinguishing feature of language is our ability to refer to absent things, known as displaced reference. A speaker can bring distant reference to mind in the absence of any obvious stimuli. Thoughts not limited to the here and now can pop into our heads for unfathomable reasons. This ability to think about distant things necessarily precedes the ability to talk about them. Thought precedes meaningful referential communication. A prerequisite for the emergence of human-like meaningful symbols is that the mental categories they relate to can be invoked even in the absence of immediate stimuli. Okay, now let's look at the options. The ability to think about objects not present in our environment precedes the development of human communication. It kind of makes sense. Thought precedes meaningful referential communication, and that's what is the general thing that is being spoken here. So I'll keep this aside. Displaced reference is particular to human thought pop into our heads for no real reason. You cannot say for no real reason. The reason could be real, but it might not be some kind of an immediate stimuli. Okay, so you cannot say for no real reason here. That's why you can get rid of the second one. Thoughts precede all speech acts. Okay, this kind of absolute statements, when they come, you got to be a little careful. Let's see whether that can be justified from the passage. Thoughts not limited to this ability to think about distant things necessarily precedes the ability to talk about them. Thoughts precede all speech acts. Now, I would not say talk about them will take all speech acts here. And these thoughts pop up in our head even in the absence of stimuli. They did not say that. Absence of immediate stimuli. Maybe there is some other kind of stimuli. It might not be an immediate stimuli. So you cannot say absence of any stimulus. In the absence of immediate stimulus, yes, but you cannot say absence of any stimulus. So you can get rid of 3 as well. Coming to the fourth one. Thoughts are essential to communication. Okay. Only humans have the ability to think about objects not present in the surroundings. We don't know about that. We cannot say only humans have the ability. We don't have support for that from here. That also goes out. So the best answer we have here is option 1. Type 1 if you're clear with how we solved this question, if you're there in the live session. Okay, so let's look at this. There is one doubt that has come up here. Unfathomable reasons is given, right? And no real reason. Can I take it as no real reason? The unfathomable means it could not be understood. Okay, we cannot understand. But that doesn't mean there is no reason. There could be a reason. So unfathomable reasons would only mean reasons that we cannot fathom, reasons that we cannot perceive. Okay, so reasons that we cannot perceive don't mean that there is no reason at all. There could be a reason. It's just that we cannot fathom the reason. Okay, so unfathomable reason would not allow this no real reason. That's why I would get rid of 2. Please type U if you're clear with why unfathomable will still not permit no real reason to be there. Unfathomable only means we cannot fathom. For instance, if someone tries to explain me how a rocket goes up, I might not be able to understand why it goes up, but I cannot say there is no proper explanation for why a rocket goes up. There is an explanation. I am not able to fathom it. That's it. Great. So we have come to the end of the session, and some of you have answered really well. And look at this, guys. This is an actual CAT question, CAT 2019, and many of you got it right. Okay. So just keep these points in mind. Consistency, and once consistency is taken care, you go for the one with maximum main points. If you keep these 2 in mind, you could get good number of questions right in paragraph summary, and paragraph summary is one kind of question in verbal ability where you could have high accuracy. Okay, and if you're there in the live session, please like this session so it helps us to reach more students. I'll end here. This will be the last session that we have before CAT 2020. So all the best. Keep the basic fundas in mind. Remember your good performances before you go into the exam. Okay, the next whatever 2-3 days that you have got, just remember the good things that has happened to you in your preparation. The instances where you really rocked the entire mock test. Now those are the things that you have to remember before you can prepare yourself and go into the exam. All the best, guys.